2 weeks ago, on November 6th, millions turned out to vote. Others voted earlier during early voting times or with mail-in ballots. They voted on things from who would be our next president to whether or not marijuana should be legal. They voted for who would represent them in Congress and on whether marriage should be between a man and a woman or open to all. Among them were many people voting for the first time, myself included. Our voice would be heard like the votes we cast. Many made their voice heard in other ways. They ran for office or drafted referenda to be voted on. If I could, I would have ran along with them, making my voice heard, making a difference. However, I couldn't, so I was forced to sit idly by as I saw a presidential race between two candidates who were almost equally distasteful, where any other candidate stood no chance. With a hardline conservative whose position on issues changed from day to day, practically every other word from his campaign was a lie, running against a moderate conservative whose campaign was run on the lie that he was a progressive, populist hero. There were other options, of course. There was Gary Johnson, who ran on a libertarian platform of slashing social programs, closing military bases, ending wars, and bringing our troops home. There was Jill Stein, who ran an eco-friendly campaign that harkened back to the New Deal and promised to foster and create jobs as FDR did. There was Virgil Good, who ran a campaign about downsizing governmental power and preserving traditional values. There was Rocky Anderson, whose campaign was based on social and economic justice, promising to save the country's poor from the economic disaster caused by the rich bankers in Wall Street. None of them stood a chance, but they ran anyway, so their voice could be heard. Gary Johnson garnered the most votes of the third-party candidates, but less than 1% of the popular vote. And so, after having voted in my first election, I sat at home, wondering what I could do, or could have done, to change things, make this a better place. That's when this idea came to me. I didn't have to sit around and do nothing. Just because I can't run for office doesn't mean I can't make my voice heard. In my head, an idea formed. An idea to educate the electorate. An idea to share the problems in this country and present solutions to them. This idea is what you, my viewer, are watching right now. A show to teach those who do not know about what is happening. A show that is free to watch. A show that doesn't just present the problems we face, but solutions as well. The solution for a better America. Today I would like to speak about the Fiscal Cliff and the Grand Bargain. The Fiscal Cliff is a set of automatic budget cuts and tax increases set to happen at the start of 2013, unless Congress does something about it. The Grand Bargain is President Obama's plan to avoid the Fiscal Cliff by compromising with Republicans in Congress. Let's discuss what exactly the Fiscal Cliff would entail, and what effect it would have on you. First, should nothing occur by the end of the year, a bunch of tax cuts, such as the Bush tax cuts, would expire. Second, an increase of the alternative minimum tax, a flat tax rate you must pay if your tax rate gets too low. Third, an expiration of a 2% cut to taxes going toward Social Security. Fourth, an expiration of federally provided unemployment benefits. Fifth, an implementation of taxes to cover Obamacare. Finally, $1.2 trillion in across-the-board spending cuts as a part of the sequester. This includes cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and defense. This would affect you by increasing your taxes, cutting your unemployment benefits, making your social safety net much weaker and lower. In short, you would have to pay more, to get less. President Obama, fresh off his re-election, has all the leverage he needs. The Republicans are reeling from Romney's defeat, and losses in the Senate serve to reaffirm the power the Democratic Party had gotten in 2008 and 2006, with some of the more loudmouthed Tea Party Republicans, from incumbents like Allen West and Joe Walsh, to electoral nominees like Todd Akin and Richard Murdoch, failed to take or hold the seats they campaigned for. Even more moderate Republicans, like Scott Brown, got defeated. This is only further affirmed by the reaction to this election by the Republican Party and people on their side. They are backpedaling and showing weakness, from the pundits such as Sean Hannity and his evolving stance on immigration, to Bill O'Reilly admitting the white establishment is now the minority, to Rush Limbaugh decrying how conservatives have lost the country, to actual members of the party, such as Louisiana Governor Jindal, who gave fellow Republicans a warning to, in his own words, stop being the stupid party. And 2008 presidential candidate Mike Huckabee, who said that the GOP has done a pathetic job communicating to minorities and women, and that they need to be more realistic. Such cracks and weakness in the Republican Party is sure to give the Democrats the power to push through whatever they feel is necessary. Surely the Democrats can push against them until they break. So we're left wondering, how will they go about fixing the fiscal cliff? How will they use their leverage and the Republicans' weakness to their advantage? They won't. That's what the grand bargain is. A compromise, if it can be called that, with the Republican Party. It includes $3 trillion in spending cuts and $1 trillion in tax increases, which is, again, paying more for less. Not only that, but it would also neglect cuts to our bloated defense budget, focus on slashing Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Is this really the play of a party in power? Appeasing the Republicans and creating a plan far worse than the fiscal cliff? Is this the Obama from the campaign trail who spoke so much about how he would be the defender of the middle class? No, this is the real president, a moderate conservative who is all too ready to appease the far-right conservatives of the Republican Party. This is no grand bargain. This is a theft by the Republican Party, and President Obama is helping them do it. However, this video wouldn't be complete if I only spoke about the problems we face. There are also solutions. We face several options. First, and most simply, we could go off the fiscal cliff. It would be distasteful since, as I said, that would mean we would be paying more and getting less. However, it wouldn't be the worst solution. Cuts to spending would be spread out across the board. We would certainly balance the budget, as many politicians claim to want. If Congress and the President truly wanted to balance the budget, this is a solution they'd go for, and they'd love the fiscal cliff. Another solution would be going through with the grand bargain. That would be even worse than going off the fiscal cliff. Not only would we have even more cuts to the budget, but the cuts would be focused on what we shouldn't be cutting in such a precarious economic position like the one we're in, and avoid cutting from what we really should be. Another solution would be to extend everything that would run out at the start of this next year. That would be a better solution than going off the fiscal cliff or going through with the grand bargain. However, it would only serve to postpone the fiscal cliff. My solution would be as follows. First, cut the defense budget. We have the largest in the world. It is bloated and could use some cuts. Second, I would raise taxes on the highest tax bracket, or people who make more than $388,350 a year. I would use that tax increase to fund Medicare, Social Security, and other such programs. Third, I would get rid of the sequester. We can reduce spending as needed when the economy recovers, but we cannot afford its cuts right now. Fourth, and finally, I would then extend the many things that would run out in 2013, but make them so that they would run out at different times, so we wouldn't have to deal with them all at the same time. Unfortunately, I doubt any politician will go with my proposed solution. The political will just isn't there. Probably what will happen is that President Obama will implement the grand bargain, which will be one of the most one-sided deals in politics. We'll face major cuts, and there will be great struggles. However, you can do something. You can write letters to your congressman and the president. You can make petitions and organize. Such efforts can work, and have before. However, as the fiscal cliff looms, time is running out. There might not be time left to change things. I'd like to thank Sirocco for his help in researching and writing this video. Links to my sources will be in the description. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment if you disagree or have something to add. For more videos like this, subscribe to this channel. Remember, this isn't just a show about politics. This is the solution. Hope to see you next Tuesday with more.